Everyone, this is Gwydion. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I don't even know if this video will see the light of day. My intention is to pass this over to Alex and maybe let him release this for his Patreons only. But this is a sneak peek of Choir of the Flesh, which literally just dropped the first version last night. I haven't had any time other than reviewing some of the really initial pages he released a week or so ago. I haven't had any time to look at it. So this is really just kind of a tribute video to Alex and attempting to walk through a new game that looks super exciting. And the reason I'm doing this, frankly, is I haven't had any time the last several weeks. Been a little bit crushed with work and just want to do something fun and hopefully a little entertaining. So let's just jump in through the walkthrough and see how this goes. Choir of the Flesh, of course, written by our favorite RPG author, Blackoath Entertainment, Alex T. And a lot of this isn't done, but as far as like the artwork and things like that, I think even character sheets. So it looks like we're in 1000 AD, and the world is ending, not with fire, not with sword, but with a song. And see, the celestial choir descended as St. John foretold. The sick rose from their bed singing, the blind opened their eyes. And the devout whispered of the rapture of God's final mercy upon a sinful world, but they were wrong. So it sounds like the choir's hymn was not salvation, but a consumption. And those fortunate enough died quickly, while most turned into abominations known as penitents. And those are zealots willingly letting the choir reshape them into living weapons. The flesh that feeds. So it sounds like that's the antithesis of the choir's mad symphony, a crawling, wordless hunger that dissolves song into meat, faith, and into pulp. I love the evocative nature of this and the church and the implications. See the unbroken humanity. There's a final ragged resistance called the Unbroken, which I believe we are part of. The War of the Millennium, the choir's faithful, who see rapture in the mutating hymn, and the field apostates who embrace dissolution as salvation. So this is a tabletop role-playing game of cosmic horror, bodily corruption, and desperate faith against a medieval apocalypse. The choir perverts the Christian sacraments. Communion turns to blood hymns. Confession forces you to sing your sins until your throat bleeds. This is the end of days. Will you sing? Will you rock? As choir plush play, you can play solo or a group, as you can with most Black Oath games. So you're referred to as a PC or the Unbroken. There is a game master if you want to play this as a group. There's NPCs which have attributes, which I'm sure we'll get into shortly. Dice, D20. Sounds like this is a D20 system, I believe. D10, of course, so probably a lot of table rolls, as Alex likes to have in his games. So looking at the right-hand side, though, the D20 is going to be most of your challenge. 4 themes are survival, eschatological horror, body horror, medieval apocalypse, and no clean victory. So even winning means you're going to carry with you some type of scar, physical, mental, or both, spiritual. I love look at this face. This is awesome art. I can't remember the name. I'm horrible with that, but I know this is somebody that Alex has been trying to get to illustrate an entire game, and he's super excited. Man, look at these faces. This is just, I love it. Character sheets. Okay, you'll roll and assign attributes. Determine your defense rating, initiative bonus, pick a weapon and armor proficiency, pick a feat. Optionally, you can have drawbacks, pick 4 skills. Roll to determine your character's sin, shard, doom, and occupation. And you start with a weapon of your choice, a gambeson. I'm not sure what that is, and 30 rations. And you can spend a certain amount of money, I think, on any piece of equipment. I'll have to read more about that. Attributes, let's just kind of flip through here. Strength, constitution, dexterity, intelligence, willpower. So a lot of things you're familiar with. Presence, sounds like that's a combination of charisma, charm, ability to influence others. You have other characteristics. You have anguish, which is the crushing weight of despair and stress, carrying capacity, defense rating. Drawback, new characters can choose to roll on the drawback table. Feats, humanity, so measures how much of your mind, body, and soul remain uncorrupted. You have initiative roll, and that's equal to your dex modifier, but other factors sounds like can influence that. I suspect, gear, armor, the like. You have injuries, movement, proficiencies, and you, as mentioned previously, you have one weapon proficiency and one armor proficiency to start. And you have feats. New PCs start the game with one free feat, and you can pick more by taking a drawback. So every drawback you take, you can get one additional feat. Cool. A lot of feats. I won't go through all of these, but it looks like quite a few feats and quite a few drawbacks, which will give you a -2 burden to will-based tasks for gullible. So all of these will give you, looks like some negatives to different stats. Skills. So newly created characters start with 4 skills. So it sounds like it's going to be a pretty wide open character creation, which is nice. Some of the skills: athlete, battle frenzy, brace. So these are all strength based. Then you've got constitution, dexterity, intelligence based skills, willpower, and presence. And then the last details for your character: a sin that defines you. So let's see. So this isn't a petty flaw or minor transgression. This is the bedrock of your soul, the defiant act of will that anchors you against the horrors. Roll a d10 or choose the sin that befits your character. And you can look at these yourself. I don't want to spoil too much. Start of the old world, considering how everything is going to hell, either drowning in a divine song or swallowed by a hungering earth. Memory is the last sanctuary. Oh, so you carry a fragment of that memory. That's pretty cool. And I'm not going to read all these. I don't want to spoil them. See, another piece is a whisper of doom. Hope is a dangerous poison in the year 1000, but a whisper of it is all you have. You clutch a rumor, a fragmented map, a dying man's last word. And then you roll a d10 or choose a rumor that haunts you. I don't know if all of these are definitely true or not. Your former life. So it sounds like your former life will be an occupation, which might give you some skills, which is cool. I don't know if those are free with it, but I suspect they are. Again, more cool art. A lot of random names. That's awesome. So if you want to roll and create your character on a random name table. Existing relationship. If you're playing with others instead of alone, or if you want your PC to have a companion, then you can determine how you know each other in the bonds. That's cool. So again, another D10 table. Leveling up. Let's see, in order to progress from level 1 to 2, PC requires 50 XP. Your PCs start the game at level 1. Each time a PC levels up, they earn 6 development points. So a new feat costs 4 development points. Acquiring a weapon or armor proficiency is 4. Increase an attribute by +1 is 20 development points. Acquiring a new skill is 5. So you'll definitely have some choices to make, and I suspect, you can save them. Earning XPs, there are XPs in the stat block of enemies, and here's an advancement table. Looks like you actually, let's see, do you reset? At first I was thinking these are really quick, but I suspect you reset back to, you do. XP is spent upon reaching a level, so you start at 0. So, all right, your settlement. So I've already read this part just a little bit. So the black box on the bottom, you don't have to create a settlement, but it sounds like it's expected you will, and some of the things that you'll encounter throughout the game will be tied to settlement. So although you can make the game simpler by not choosing a settlement, and maybe you do that. I might do that to begin with just to get the flow of the game. But and I'm not huge a lot of times on creating like entire settlements and things like I know a lot of other people probably are, and it's not a game element I tend to do a lot, but I think I will in this one. because there's so much tied to it. So I'm excited to try it out. Be something new for me. So every time the PCs return from exploring, you have a settlement phase, you have resources gathering, there's a defense rating. Looks like you can be attacked by others. Oh, and here's the structure of the settlement phase. Determine the scale, pay upkeep, discontent and renown, gathering resources, improvements, and possibly a random event. Very cool. Yep, here are all your events on a D100 table. Core rule. All right, let's flip through the checks. So D20 is the core check, and you're going to have a target number. I think Alex has put this into some of the other games, including Machine Gods, I believe. But you have dynamic target numbers, which is cool. You can use this to kind of have differing degrees of difficulty. I'll let you read about that in the other game rather than spending a lot of time. But you can see based on a total modifier that you have, you can set a dynamic target from very easy up to impossible. Advantage and disadvantage is just what you would expect from other games. There are critical failures and successes. A 1 on a D20 is a critical failure, the worst possible. On the other hand, rolling a 20 is a critical success. You might have opposed checks. You can assist on checks, it looks like. More great art. Mastery and burden modifier. Certain supernatural effects, skill situation centers can grant a mastery modifier. Okay. Usage die. Alex loves using these, and I like these a lot. But it's a nice way to, in an abstract way, count resources, or I'm not sure what they'll be used for in this game, but it's a really cool way to not have to like track the minutia of things like arrows, sometimes ammunition. We'll see how it's used in this one. Humanity. This looks like it goes into a little bit more about what that means when you start losing humanity. If you have low humanity, you have consequences, it appears. You can regain humanity in different ways. Anguish, the measure of your soul's slow erosion. This is a spiritual and psychological toll of living in this world. You gain anguish when you experience shock. And it looks like there's a number of circumstances that look pretty detailed on when you might gain anguish. Betrayal, personal failure, hopelessness. Very cool. Anguish checks. You might need to roll an anguish check. And okay, if you fail your check, your will breaks and you must roll immediately on the breakdown table. Looks like you can lose anguish different ways: finding sanctuary, arousing in connections with others, defying doom. Combat, turns and rounds. All right, average of 10 seconds. Surprise, so there is a possibility of surprised. Usually it looks like usually you'll just roll initiative, but there might be there's a possibility for surprise. PC that rolls a natural 1 for initiative loses their turn. This is something I think Alex implemented in Machine Gods, so I like that. Rolling a natural 20 initiative grants advantage, so I think that's a really cool mechanic that I haven't seen other than in Alex games. Combat grid, so it looks like there's a 5x5 grid, and you position yourself and your creatures. I'm not going to get into too much detail because this video could be like an hour and a half. Just kind of more of a walkthrough. For the combat grid, roll a d5 to select row. Okay, so there's some variability or randomness, I should say, on where the PC or the NPCs at least will be on the grid. Deployment, if the party surprise the NPCs, they can choose which side to deploy on after the NPC's deployment side. Enemy activation. I won't go too much into here, but there's movement and facing, there's line of sight, areas of effect. Cool. So it looks like the combat will be a bit punchy. So I like this. There's a lot of examples on like what is blast spell. It looks like that's like 2 squares straight ahead of you. I get that. A burst might be in the squares immediately around you. There is cover, critical hits and misses, which we talked about. You can dual wield unarmed combat. So you can, I suppose you won't want to, but you can engage in combat if you don't have a weapon. Action, so you get to do one of each of 3 types of actions: a free actions, move action, reaction, a standard action. one of each of the 3 types. It looks like there's 4 here, but maybe he means move, reaction, and a standard action. A free action is just that, I suppose. All right, targeting. So you have different types of attack, standard attacks, maneuvers, charge, create an opening, disarm, grapple. So a lot of different things that you can do. You're going to roll an attack check, and you're going to roll a d20 and modify by your strength or dex, plus any other relevant modifier. The result is equal to or higher than the target's defense rating. Score to hit and dealt a major injury. So maybe it's a little abstract, the injuries. I don't know if there's hit points. So rolling a defense, see if there's what else is near injury consequences. I guess there's a minor minor injury too. Not everything, but okay, there's an injury track. So I'll look at that further after the video, but looks like you can suffer major and minor. And I suspect you probably die if you're at 4 major injuries, or maybe 2, 4, 6, 8 minor. Probably different effects for different types of injuries. That's cool. Shields, you can flee, it looks like, combat, but who flees? I'm just kidding. You probably should. Okay, here are all the different effects based on different types of injuries. Piercing, primordial, slashing. That's cool. Trauma and death. Trauma is the accumulation of grievous wounds, so you have a trauma track. Healing trauma. Wow, there's a lot of cool. It sounds like you've got trauma, you've got anguish. I'm already forgetting one. Conditions, so a number of conditions, a page worth, 2, 4, 6. Looks like there's 10, unless there's more on the next page. There's 10. Oh, there's more. Okay. Quite a few types of conditions. Touch of the supernatural, so the power of pray. So everyone has access to prayers. It takes 1 standard action. That's very cool. There's minor prayers. I wonder if those are kind of like cantrips. I'm not sure. But it looks like you can utter a minor prayer as a free action. That's cool, allowing them to reroll any check. Very nice. Only once per check. And it has a price, albeit more tolerable. You immediately gain +1 anguish. Okay. I like the roll with consequence. Minor canticles. Standard psalms. So I guess this is the spell system, it looks like. Major hymns, apocalyptic anthems. Very cool. Blessings of the flesh. The flesh that feeds does not listen. A player can choose to perform an act of apostasy. It requires a moment of intense personal ritual. Ooh, but you suffer a major injury and consuming a seed of flesh. These grotesque items that appear as small pulsating sacs can be found wherever the flesh rules. Performing an act of apostasy causes the character to immediately lose D4 humanity. Wow. But you do get a blessing of the flesh, and you roll on the gifts of the unmade table. Very, very cool. Stigmata of the abyss. Running the game. So we've gone through a fair bit of the rule. Let me see what else we're going to go through in here. Target numbers, managing spiritual souls, generating an undertaking, tips for a grimdark experience. So this is a little more game master ideas, it looks like, which Alex always does a great job of giving you all the tools to create. Look at this. Wow. Undertaking tension events. So there's a lot of tables that you can utilize. Solo narrative tools. So I suspect this section is going to be a bit about some basic oracles, maybe. So answering yes or no questions, surprise events to keep it exciting, action and theme tables. All right, which has 100 entries. Wow. Themes, interpreting an action or event. So significance, random action resolutions, tracking events. Wow, look at all this. All right, exploring the apocalypse. More amazing art. Year's 1000 AD, so I'll let you go into the background, but I suspect I'm going to read a lot about this too. The War of the Millennium, France in the year 1001, Purifiers, Desperate Search. You're going to spend most of your time exploring the countryside and ruins. You're going to generate map and points on the map. All these features, time and travel, resting and eating, types of encounters. navigating areas of corruption. Wow, I can't believe he did all this in a matter of weeks. That's just unbelievable. He's so prolific. This would take me years. And actually, I couldn't do it. Never mind. The incursion phase begins once the player has gathered 10 rumors and decides to act on them. That's cool. So it sounds like there is like a path towards some type of end in the game. So the incursion, exploring the location. I'll have to read definitely more about this. Wow, look at these descriptions of places as you're going into the incursion, I guess. Bandit Palisade, Apothecary Shop. Some art I'm sure he's going to add. Bear baiting display. Bleeding Quarry. Man, look at all this. Huge detail. Huge detail. I just can't wait to just read this and understand what I'm going to be exploring. Man, look at all these entries. Sorry, I'm just gushing, but I suspect there's 100. You know, I mean, there has to be, right? Wow. I just don't know how he gets all these. Yep, there's 100. Creatures of the Apocalypse. Let's flip through these a bit. Enemy behavior. So there's going to be a little bit of a AI mechanic, combat actions. What happens if they are injured or have any injury? Oh, cool. I like this. There's a different, I suspect you roll and determine the varying, like, do you have a basic enemy, an average enemy, or a hard enemy? So maybe like a minion has 2 major injuries on their track, but obviously there's more for stronger enemies, they'll have a higher injury track. Makes sense. All the stats, they have perception, strength, willpower, all the things you would expect. Okay, so here are some of the, look at the amalgam. This is what happens when a group of people are caught by the flesh in close proximity. Jesus. You'll have accuracy. I don't know what that is. We'll have to read that later. Constitution. And I love how I think these are all going to be dynamic based on your character, I believe, which is why you have these general descriptions. State, look at all of these. Man, he's got all of the images are almost all here. I thought these would all be coming. Fire of Flesh. Oh, sorry. Bone Weaver, Cantor, Carrion Flock, Censer Bearer, Cherubim, Confessor, Broker, Flagellant. I love that. Oh my God. Look at that. That's just creepy. Fleshworm, Gnasher, Brown Maw, Herald, Horse, Hound, Crusader, Liquefier, Mater Dolorosa, a grievous woman, often former nuns dressed in flowing robes. Wow. Special attack, standard attack, support. And I think we probably already saw the table. Mother of Tumors. Ugh. Penitent. He released this image, I think, on Discord, or not released, but showed us this image, and I love it. This is a penitent. That is just amazing. Pillar of Faith, Purifier, Bribe of Penance, Seraph, Silent Stalker, Skinless Hound. Oh my God, this is just unbelievable, the number of Gears and Spoil of War. I'll just flip through this, and I think we'll be done for now. Barter and Train. There is encumbrance. Normal items take up 1 slot. I like encumbrance like at a basic level, so I like it when he does this. I'm not a huge fan of like a super detailed encumbrance, so this is cool. You can sell resources, clothing, common gear, so a number of things, and it has the weights in them, weapons, a lot of traits on the weapons, which is cool. Melee weapons, so you've got a number here, and it has all the traits. Mace, so a lot of things you would normally expect, which is awesome. There are ranged weapons, crossbow, longbow, sling, throwing knife, gambeson, which is a padded, okay, I should have known that. Padded jacket worn as a standalone. Okay, helmets, shield, spoils. Look at all these spoils. Masterwork, armaments, and weapons. So suspect you can have your weapons crafted even stronger or better. Relics. So these must be like very cool, like magic items. You can recover 2 humanity if you find one, it looks like, or yeah, recovering a relic gives you hope. apocalyptic items. These are probably, yeah, they're powerful tools, but they probably have a big price to them if you use them, I suspect. Wow. Look at all. That's it. That's it. 220 pages. So, that was, about a half hour. And again, my intention was just to a flip through. That was just my immediate me just flipping pages with you. So I hope you enjoyed it and gives you a little preview for the patrons if that's how Alex chooses to allow this to be released. But I hope you all enjoy. I am so excited to dive into Choir of the Flesh or Choir of. Can't wait to dive in and do a lot of reading this holiday weekend. Thanks, everyone.